Welcome to my Christmas market series where I break down everything you need to know about visiting the Christmas markets in Europe. And after having visited over 250 Christmas markets across Europe, I may know a thing or two that could be helpful to planning your trip. So without further ado, here are 10 things I wish someone had told me before visiting the Christmas markets in Cologne. Getting here and getting around. In terms of getting to Cologne, you have a couple of options depending on where you're traveling from. If you're flying domestically within Europe, you can fly directly into Cologne Bonn Airport, which is only about 15 minutes by train to the HBF. The airport train runs every 20 minutes and costs about €3, making it super straightforward and efficient. But if you're coming from further away overseas, you'll most likely end up at Frankfurt, which is actually the better option despite being further away. From the Frankfurt airport, there's a high-speed train that takes exactly 1 hour straight into Cologne HBF. The train runs about every hour and you can book tickets in advance for about €20 to €30 depending on the time of day. Once you're in Cologne, you have a couple of options for getting around the Christmas markets as well. A journey will cost you €2.90, while a day pass will cost you €8.60. The rule of thumb is that if you have 3 or more different journeys in one day, it's more cost effective to just get the day pass. But if you're only really using it for 1 to 2 journeys, it's best just to go ahead and go with a single pass. You can purchase these tickets with a KVB app, online, at ticket kiosks, or at machines at bus stops and train terminals. The second option is the Christmas Market Express Tram. It costs €15 for hop-on, hop-off access, and you're only allowed to use this going in the same direction and there's no multiple stops. The last option, and I don't really recommend this one, is renting a car. If you're just coming to Cologne and visiting the nearby markets, taking the train is 100% the way to go. But if you do have a car with you, I'd say park it for the days that you're in Cologne and forget about it. The next tip is come up with a plan and know where the markets are located. Now, by no means is this Disneyland and you don't need to come up with a foolproof plan, but at the very, very least have a general understanding of where all the markets are located so you know what the plan is. The first market and the most iconic market is the Dom, otherwise also known as the Cathedral. The Cathedral Market is that iconic photo spot with that massive tree, classic German Christmas market aesthetic with beautiful fairy sparkly lights, but it's also the most tourist focused with higher prices and mass produced items. The second and third markets are located at Heinzel's Winter Fairy Tale, and I personally like to call it the No Market. It spans 2 different locations that share the same folklore theme but have completely different setups. Alter Market is Market 2, and this feels like your traditional Christmas market experience with more stalls to browse through, vendors to chat with, and that classic market atmosphere where you're wandering from stall to stall. Market 3 is Hue Market, and while this has the same folklore theme, it's much more activity focused with fewer stalls. This is where families with kids should spend their time because it has the ice skating rink woven right into the market, synthetic snow effects that run from 6 to 8 daily for photos, and it's the perfect atmosphere for families. The fourth market is the Harbor Market near the Chocolate Museum. It has that maritime theme and that Ferris wheel, but it's also the furthest from everything. But to be very, very honest, I thought this one just kind of missed the mark to all the other ones that we loved, so if you had to skip one, I'd say this might be a skip. Moving on to the fifth market, and this one is the Market of Angels at Newmarket. The best way to put this one is if you've ever been to Winter Village at Bryant Park, this feels weirdly and oddly similar to it. The next market is Nicholas Village at Rudolfplatz. It's legit Christmas throw-up captured in one market in the best way possible. It's great for solo travelers, couples, families, and the last market on this map is Stadtgarten. It's in Cologne's oldest park with 90 rotating vendors, meaning the selection changes throughout the season. And this market is consistently recommended for authentic experiences, reasonable prices, and this definitely feels a lot more on the rustic side. The third tip is you will be walking a lot if you want to. Unlike most Christmas markets in Germany, Cologne's are actually rather spread out. And walking to all 7 markets in a day technically is doable, but not very enjoyable. So here's a smart way to approach this. In reality, there are only really 2 clusters you really need to think about. The walkable cluster includes the Cathedral, the Old Town markets at Heinzel's, Angel Market, and Nicholas Village. In total, this is about 1.5 kilometers through pedestrian zones with plenty of shops and cafes to walk into. Then you also have the cluster of outliers, Harbor Market and Stadtgarten. Harbor Market is about 2.5 kilometers from the cathedral along the windy Rhine River with zero wind protection, while Stadtgarten is 2 kilometers away through residential areas where you won't really find a lot of warm places to walk into. My suggestion is to do the walkable clusters on foot, while the Christmas tram and the public transit save it for those 2 outlier markets. The next tip is to stay close to the HBF or somewhere near the Dom. At this point, you probably have a pretty good lay of the land, and after realizing that the Christmas markets are all kind of spread out, you're probably thinking, well, where do I stay? And in my opinion, the best area is to stay somewhere near the HBF or somewhere close to the Dom. This puts you at the transportation hub for day trips to other Christmas markets. Dusseldorf is 25 minutes away, Bonn is only 20 minutes away, and Aachen is only around 45 to an hour. So if you're planning to visit other cities, staying near the HBF is 100% the way to go. One of the places that we loved, so I have to recommend it, is the Marriott. Every single time we've been in Cologne, we've always booked this one because it's super close to everything, and they also have an AM lounge. Do be warned though, this accommodation gets booked up super fast, so once you book your flights, make sure to immediately get those accommodations. The next tip is to bring an extra bag and also add in wet wipes. Why, you ask? Well, for all the Glühwein mugs that you're about to hoard. I gotta give this one to Cologne. It is mug central, and the mug game is a solid 5 out of 5. Every single market had their own specialty mug, and it made it so incredibly fun to see all the new designs every single year. So if you are into mugs, here's what every single one looks like at every single market. First up is the Cathedral Market mug featuring detailed cathedral artwork, and it's the highest quality ceramic. The designs are some of the most unique and intricate I've ever seen. Typically, the designs will have that same aesthetic, but with different scenes and images and a different background color every year. Next up is Heinzel's. And at first glance, you're looking and you're like, these gnomes are kind of not really my thing. But it grows on you, and by the 3rd or 4th time back to Heinzel's, you will have probably collected 3 to 4 different gnomes. They don't come out with new ones each year, but they do have ready to purchase ones if you're looking for a clean one without a crack. Next up is the Angel Market mug, and they have this intricate angel design with gold accents every single year. We also did see a ton of previous year's designs, so if you're into collecting them, you can bag a few from previous years as well. Next up is Nicholas Village, and this one can be a hit or a miss. The first year that we ever went, the iconic boot mug was sold out, so we just had those frosted ones, which weren't too unique. But the last year that we went, we finally found the boot mug and snagged a couple. Do be warned, because this is a boot mug, this will sell out very fast, so if it's one of the things that you're looking forward to, I recommend going somewhere at the beginning of the season so you make sure you snag that mug. As for the Harbor Market and Stadtgarten, I don't really remember there being too of a standout mug, but I do believe that they did have mugs there as well, just nothing that was too memorable. So in terms of the mug collecting strategy, the goal is to go early in the season and prioritize your must-have designs first. Understand that you're paying €3 to €5 for the mug deposit, and also factor in mug costs into your budget. Also, before you pull the trigger, make sure to compare some of the different vendors, because at first when I was going around, I thought that since they were all selling Glühwein, I just assumed they would all be the same prices. Nope. Different vendors will have different prices for their Glühwein mugs, even though the entire market all uses the same mugs. So make sure to do your homework ahead of time and browse around before you pull the trigger. Next tip, how are the crowds really? And I'm just gonna be honest with you, it's bad. Pretty much if you go anytime in the weekend after 5 p.m., it's gonna be shoulder to shoulder crowds. And it kind of gives that mosh pit energy as well, because I'm only 5'3", and literally the Germans are all pretty tall. So for me, I felt like I literally needed to keep my head up like that in order to have air at times. So instead of going during the weekends, I definitely recommend going somewhere midweek. The golden window that locals use are somewhere between Tuesday and Wednesday, right when markets open. And these are the best times that you can actually have conversations with vendors, browse stalls without being pushed around, and take photos without crowds in the background. Next up, where do you eat? I personally see the Christmas markets in Germany food situation the equivalent of American fair food. You can find every single fried and sugary food here, and most markets will have some unique items. Reibekuchen is one of our favorites, and we love the little stalls at Angel's that makes them extra crispy, and they're extra oily as well. Another must is the Baumkuchen at the Angel's Market. This ranks consistently as my top Christmas market food item, and I will trek out to this market specifically to find this food every single year. After trying the birthplace of Baumkuchen in Berlin, I would still say the one at Cologne at Angel's Market is still so much better. I personally just like the plain one without the chocolate drizzle, but if you want to get creative, you can always go with some chocolate drizzle on top. Another crazy food item, well, I guess a drink item, would be at Rudolfplatz, and that's the Glühwein pitcher. So it's a massive pitcher that comes filled, and you can honestly share this between 3 to 6 different people. Now, I won't go into all the different foods that you can find at the markets because that video will probably literally be over an hour long. But in terms of other classics that you need to try at a German Christmas market, specifically in Cologne, are pretzels, bratwurst, champignons, Flammkuchens, Handbrat, and of course, the Glühwein. Now, the only downside to the Christmas market food scene in Germany is that there's very little, if any at all, fresh market veggie scene. So just make sure to mentally prepare yourself that if you're going to the Christmas markets, you're gonna need to find fresh vegetables elsewhere. And on the topic of Christmas market food items, these foods do get fairly redundant the more markets you go, and there's definitely such a thing as Christmas market food fatigue. So I recommend you make some dinner reservations to change up that scene for your palate. Next tip is cash is king. After having traveled to almost 70 different countries, I'd say this one was definitely a surprise to me. Even some of the most remote places in the world we've been to all accepted credit cards. While around half the markets do accept credit cards, there are some that are solely cash, and we learned this the hard way. For some reason, it was always that one thing I was craving most. I get up there after being in a line for about 20 minutes and they say cash only. And we also did realize cash was mostly for food and drinks, while knickknacks you can get away with paying with credit cards. There are ATMs at most markets, but they charge a high fee and often run out of cash during the busy weekends. So my advice is to go to a major bank in the city center before hitting the markets and withdraw cash there. The next tip is here's the truth about the weather and what realistically you should pack. First up, your base layer strategy. Start with thermals, top and bottom. I can't stress this enough. Even when it looks mild outside, you'll be standing around for hours drinking beverages and your body temperatures will drop. So having that thermal base layer is so crucial. In terms of your mid layers, I honestly have sworn by cashmere every single year we went. I'll have 2 or 3 different cashmere tops, and I'll even have cashmere gloves because those things are very light and it keeps you extra warm. In terms of the outer shell, you really don't need 2 or 3 different variety of coats. You can honestly just get away with one. Get a water resistant coat and hopefully it has some sort of down so you're extra protected from that cold. And make sure your jacket is water resistant. The best would be to be waterproof, but if you can't get waterproof and down, just make sure it's water resistant because you really don't want to be going around the markets with an umbrella. We did end up bringing 2 umbrellas, but we didn't really even use it because it was just a lot of hassle walking through a lot of people with umbrellas. You were poking people everywhere. So just having a really solid jacket pretty much does the trick. And lastly, let's address the big elephant in the room, and that's where do you find bathrooms when you need to go? Most Christmas markets will have paid bathrooms that charge anywhere from 50 cents to €1. And make sure you have coins handy because some don't accept credit cards. And as an American, I feel like it's almost criminal to have to pay to go to the bathroom. So we always try these tricks to find free bathrooms. Department stores are your best friend. Another place that'll have free bathrooms is McDonald's or Starbucks. Some do require that you purchase something, but it could also be a great time to kind of rest up, to kind of thaw out, use the bathroom, and then restart at the markets again. The next one, and this one's kind of sneaky, is the hotel lobby bathroom. Just walk in confidently, pretend like you're a guest, use the bathroom, and sneak back out. This is honestly my last resort because sometimes I do feel bad not being a paid guest and using their facilities, but when it becomes an emergency, you kind of just gotta do what you gotta do. So all in all, if it's your first time to Cologne, I honestly think that 2 nights is the sweet spot that allows you to do things at a fair pace without overwhelming yourself. If that was helpful, make sure to hit subscribe for more deep dives of Christmas markets in Europe and comment below which one I should do next.